news, the Minnesota Vikings look to have their new head coach as they're looking to hire Kevin O'Connell. What is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports Style back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL here to talk about this very news in regards to the Vikings' new coach. And I'm already saying new coach because it is pretty much a done deal with regards to Kevin O'Connell, but it cannot be officially official until after the Super Bowl because Kevin O'Connell is the offensive coordinator for the LA Rams, who are currently going to be playing in the Super Bowl. So until the game is over, he is going to be obviously with the Rams. And then after that, they will officially bring him on and hire him as their next head coach. So if you are new to the channel, make sure to go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you're following me on all my social media platforms, guys. So let's get into this. All right, Kevin O'Connell, another Sean McVay disciple, folks. At this point, if you just stand next to Sean McVay and just breathe the same air that he does, you're probably going to get a head coaching gig or at least some sort of a coordinator gig. Because here we go again. We got another guy from the Sean McVay tree. And this time going to the Minnesota Vikings. So this, to me, is quite interesting here because of a couple of factors. All right, let's start with the first one. Jim Harbaugh, that didn't work out. So Jim Harbaugh interviewed with the Vikings, and then shortly after, we got the news that Jim Harbaugh let Michigan know he was coming back for the next season to coach with them. So obviously the deal with the Vikings did not work out. After that, Minnesota, their new GM, Adofo-Mensah, quickly worked to get a deal done with Kevin O'Connell. Now, here's my thing. Kevin O'Connell, we hadn't even heard about his name as a top head coaching candidate, right? I've talked about all these coaches during the offseason. Kevin O'Connell's name never came up. So this was a straight up surprise to me that the Vikings went in this direction. I'm not saying it's bad. I'll get to whether or not it's a good or bad hire in just a second here. But what I'm telling you is it's quite surprising because I really thought that if it wasn't Jim Harbaugh, it may have been one of these other coaches that we had heard about. Obviously, Brian Flores with this whole situation suing the NFL. That probably wasn't going to happen. But you had other guys, Byron Leftwich, his falling out with the Jaguars. A couple other guys, assistants out there. But for the most part, it would have been one of those names that we had kept hearing. Kevin O'Connell never appeared in the picture. And boom, all of a sudden, he gets the Vikings head coaching job. So let's talk about Kevin O'Connell. What's his background? What's he all about? Look, he's the offensive coordinator for the LA Rams. I mentioned to you he's from the Sean McVay tree. And he played in the NFL. He has had a number of a number of positions with teams. One of them as a coordinator with the Redskins, who are now the Washington Commanders. Quarterback coach for them as well, passing game coordinator for them as well. And then obviously taking the job with the LA Rams as the OC. He's only 36 years old. So again, this is what the NFL is chasing right now. These young offensive hotshot coaches to try and capture some of that Sean McVay magic. Now, I'll tell you this much. Sean McVay is my favorite head coach in the NFL. I love what he's done in terms of his success. Like, he, to me, is my favorite coach. So I can totally understand why teams want to recreate that and find their next Sean McVay, right? We talk about all of his disciples here. Zach Taylor, obviously having a lot of success in Cincy, but of course, you can attribute a lot of that to Joe Burrow. And then Matt LaFleur with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, Brandon Staley with the Chargers and Justin Herbert, and then of course now with Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I mentioned to you, 1, it was a surprise, and 2, Jim Harbaugh thing obviously isn't happening now. 3, is it a good hire or not? And I got to tell you, folks, I'm somewhere in the middle here, and I really wish I was feeling strongly about either end of this because, to me, the Vikings needed something to shake up their team because they seem to be shredding in this middle round here where they're a solid team, playoff team, but never going to be a Super Bowl contender, but they're not bad enough to be a lottery team. So it was like, what are they? They were not awful, but they're not a Super Bowl contender. They're stuck in the middle ground. Mediocrity is quicksand, right? You don't want to be in the middle. You either want to be at the end or at the beginning so that if you are at the end, you can get to the beginning by getting some draft picks. And you've got Kirk Cousins, that question mark there. But I truly believe that this probably means that Kirk Cousins is staying with the Vikings because I think Kevin O'Connell is going to try to create the offense that is best suited for Kirk Cousins. Now, here's the thing. The offense wasn't the problem in Minnesota. It really wasn't. They just seem to have this ceiling that they can't hit. So they're tapping into Kevin O'Connell to see if he can break that ceiling for the Vikings. So overall, folks, look, I know it doesn't sound great that like the only reason you're projecting this guy's success is because he was a Sean McVay disciple. We've seen that go haywire, but we've seen guys have a lot of success with it. So I got to tell you, I don't hate this hire from the Vikings. He could turn out to be a stud, obviously, like some of the other McVay disciples, and we'll see what happens here. But completely surprised. You're 36 years old, and obviously in a division now with the Chicago Bears, who hired Matt Eberflus, a defensive head coach. So it's going to definitely be interesting here. But I don't hate the hire. I really don't. I'm not saying I'm ecstatic about it from a Vikings fan perspective. I'm not a Vikings fan, but if I were one, I wouldn't say I'm ecstatic. I'm somewhere in the middle, and that's truly because, again, we don't know at this point, but he does seem to have some potential. And that's what the Vikings need. They need somebody to break through for them, not somebody who can just, keep the wheels chugging along. So I'll leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think about the Minnesota Vikings hiring Kevin O'Connell. Again, maybe if they went with somebody that was proven, that's why I like the Harbaugh hire if it were to happen for them. But I'm not going to say I hate it just because of the coaching tree that he comes from. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below as always. Thanks for watching.